Well, this is Mr. Shawn Montgomery. He's the government teacher at Carroll County High School. He's also the head varsity cross country and track coach. Coach, how are you?
I'm good. How are y'all doing? Glad you invited me.
Absolutely. I think it's an honor to have you on.
Yes,
Me and Ethan both have a long history with you. Probably almost more than, except your dad, than we've had with anybody else.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It's an honor to have you on today. We always start off the same way. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Cana. So I lived in Cana until I was and I got married when I was 26 and moved to Fancy Gap. So I've always lived in this county.
So did you go to St. Paul?
Went to St. Paul kindergarten through ninth grade because it was ninth grade at that time.
Right, yeah.
So that's a pretty big time period.
Yeah.
What was that like, Dylan, having ninth graders?
I guess they're kind of separated. So I don't know. If you kind of remember back, they don't really remember them being there or anything. When in kindergarten, you didn't really see the older ones, and then when you get to ninth grade, you never really saw the younger ones because they just kind of kept us separated, really.
Yeah. We know now that you're into sports. Could you play sports at Carroll County in
Yeah.
St. Paul?
Yeah, at St. Paul, I played basketball and baseball. And then when I got to the high school, I didn't play baseball anymore. I ran cross country and track and still played basketball.
Okay.
So did they have a St. Paul team?
They had a St. Paul team. They had a 7th, 8th, and a ninth grade team. They had all three age groups.
Wow, okay. So they send kids up the mountain to
Yeah,
middle
so
school.
they want to pull, I guess. Yeah, anybody that wants to play 7th grade, they send up, yeah.
Okay.
Because St. Paul, they have when you get to 6th, 7th, and 7th, you have a choice whether you want to stay at St. Paul now or come up.
Right, yeah. Okay.
And what did your parents do for a living?
My dad kind of switched around a lot. He was in the fire department a lot because he was a volunteer for that. Mm-hmm. And then he worked like security guard at the hospital. He worked some like he was custodian the school system for a long time. He was custodian at the rest area at Exit 1. Mm-hmm. My mom worked mostly in like the hosiery mills and stuff in Mount Airy until they started closing. Mm-hmm. And then now she works at like Laurel Meadows Nursing Home.
Okay. Did they serve as an inspiration for you in any way?
Well, yeah, my dad always cared about people because he was in the fire department, and
Right,
so that was a big influence.
Yeah. Did we know now that you're a Christian man? Did they have an influence on your faith growing up?
Not really. We didn't really go to church when we were growing up. My grandparents went to church. We would go with them once in a while, but we never really went that much. I didn't really become a Christian until I got married, and that's when I really started getting into it. And my wife went to church a lot, and we started going with her, and then that's when I became a Christian.
Okay.
So I guess I was 26, 27 probably, somewhere in that neighborhood.
We spoke with Mr. Tickle a few weeks ago, and he said that he didn't become a Christian until, I think, 33.
Oh, okay.
And
Through his wife, too.
yes, through his wife as well. And he said that statistically it's a lot less likely for people to become a Christian later in their life. So it's pretty notable.
I think you see that a lot with spouses, too.
Yeah.
Once that happens. We've asked this question a few times to different people. What's your earliest childhood memory?
Thank you. I can always remember because my grandmother lived beside of me, and this was pretty much a long period of time there. Just had cousins growing up, and we had an area back in the backyard. It's kind of like where water run off, and we had little cars, and we played with them and rolled them through there, and kind of with that. I always remember that because we went. I don't know why I always remember that, but just one of those things.
Wholesome memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Did you have any siblings?
Have one sister, Patricia. Mm-hmm. She's like 4 years younger than me. She works as a hair care in Mount Airy.
Okay. Yeah.
Studio 21. I was trying to think of the name of the place, but that's what it is.
Yeah. That's not that big of an age range, but I'm sure at one point in time.
Yeah, one point in time. Now it seems like we're the same age, but yeah, when you're like 18 and 13 or 18 and 14, that's a little bit different. Yeah.
Difference, yeah.
Absolutely. So you come up the mountain in 10th grade?
10th grade, yes.
I'm sure you came straight to Carroll County High School. Right?
Yeah.
Was that a big adjustment going from being at St. Paul for so long to coming up here?
Yeah, because a little different because, been with the same people since kindergarten, pretty much, yeah. And the only difference was at that time in 7th grade, Mount Bethel and Mount Bethel and Lounsburg were open, so we had kids that come from those two to combine at St. Paul at 7th grade. But pretty much, most part, we were together with the same people. Right. So you were different people you didn't really know, and I think playing sports helped a lot with that because you see different people, and kind of like where we had a basketball team, like we had a St. Paul basketball team, a Woodlawn basketball team, and then a Hillsville basketball team. Right. So when you got to 10th grade, you combined to make the JV team.
Okay, wow, yeah. So it was a good mix of people.
Good mix of people, yeah.
It's a good way that makes it a little bit easier too to kind of mingle. Did you start running cross country immediately upon?
Started running cross country. And the reason I got into cross country, I hadn't really even thought about it Coach Sharp, the former coach before I was the coach. He was the cross country coach, and he wasn't the cross country coach yet. He was the basketball coach, and he encouraged me to run when I got to 10th grade, and I did, and I enjoyed it. And so then I think he became the coach my 11th grade year.
Okay. Was Ron Quessenberry the coach?
No, Tim Talbert was the coach when I was in 10th grade.
Okay. I didn't know he coached cross country.
Yep.
I know he's an attorney.
He's an attorney, yep.
Huh.
So and his last year was my 10th grade year.
Okay.
Did he do that alongside his attorney duties?
Yeah, he come over from the court or wherever he's at, and then he come to practice. And
talk about a busy day.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever asked you this before, but what was your times like running cross country? Did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it, and I think I enjoyed it, and I still run a little bit now. I've kind of gotten out of it, but the main reason I started was really to get in shape for basketball.
Right. Yeah.
That's why I started doing it. Yeah, and I enjoyed it. I think probably the best time I ever got. Usually my time was about 20 or 21 minutes. I did get under 20 a couple of times.
Yeah. Pretty consistent, solid times.
Yeah.
Was that something you focused on? You mentioned that you initially started running for getting in shape for basketball.
Yeah.
But did you focus on improving your cross country as much as you did in
I
basketball?
did, actually, because I never, until the first year I ran cross country was 10th grade year, and I'd never really run over the summer or anything like that until 10th grade year. In my 11th grade year and 12th grade year, I did run on my own over the summer to get ready for cross country, which before that, I'd never gotten ready for cross country. It was get ready for basketball.
Right, yeah.
And so you were there for Pat Sharp's first few seasons.
First year, yeah. Okay,
that's pretty interesting. We were there for his last few.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm sure his
that is interesting. I never thought about that.
Coaches changed. Yeah, I think I had 2 years with him. You had one.
Unfortunately.
But he was an interesting coach. The team dynamic, I'm sure, is a little bit different. Was it different than our team dynamic now, or?
Seems a little bit, yeah. I think maybe, I don't know, more laid back. I guess is maybe a good way to put it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now or back then?
Now, I think.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a benefit to the team?
I think, yeah. In some ways, yeah. In some ways, no. I guess I'm trying to think of a way to put it. More laid back. You want it to be fun, but are we doing what we need to be doing? I guess to get better. I guess.
Right. Yeah.
I think some of the problem arises when now. I mean, we're all friends outside of
cross
country too. So even when you leave practice, a lot of times we're doing something together. So it's kind of different. I mean,
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I know y'all are all close with the cross country team, but I wasn't really close with the cross country team, and that probably had more to do with I played basketball.
Right.
So that was.
Yeah, that's true. For us, cross country is the main sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cross country track. Did you run track?
I did run track. Yeah.
Okay. Did you have any preference between the two?
Track was my favorite because I was 400 and 800 were my two events, and I was pretty good at that.
Not to bring up the time question again, but do you remember your times in those events?
I know my best 400 was about 55, 56 seconds. Wow. And I always run under 2 minutes for the 800.
Wow. So you're moving.
Yeah.
That's fast. To kind of switch to the academic side, were you very academic in high school?
Yeah. I think I graduated 7th in my class or something like that.
Yeah. Is that something that your parents instilled in you, or is that something that came naturally?
More came naturally. My dad didn't graduate. My dad didn't graduate high school. Mom did, but then she always liked when I was little. What's your homework? What you got to do? It was always that part of it.
Right. Yeah. And we know that you went to college. You're a teacher.
College, yep.
Did they encourage you to go to college?
No, not really. It's just one of those things that it didn't encourage me not to. Didn't encourage me to. It's just one of those things I wanted to do, and so.
Yeah. I know that you graduated around the same time as my dad and my mom, and they also grew up in Cana. And when they grew up, the opinion was that they were going to go work in a factory, and that was all they were to amount to.
Yeah.
But they both decided to go to college. Did you see that life for yourself, and did you actively try to avoid it?
I never really saw it, and I never really actively tried to avoid it because I always did good in school, so I always kind of in my mind, I always had planned on going to college.
Yeah.
It wasn't really. The only thing I maybe had thought about doing besides that, where my dad was in the fire department, I thought about that at one time. When I was younger, one of those things where I want to be a firefighter when I get up.
Did you want to leave here or move out?
I really didn't think about it because one time I went to college to become a teacher, but when I first went to college, I wanted to be a sports broadcaster.
Oh wow!
And so that would have taken me away from here. And so that was my original plan when I went to college. But then I always liked history and stuff and students, so I just kind of got into that portion of it.
Me and Nathan are both a big fan of history.
Yeah.
What part of history really interested you?
Like the Revolutionary War and Civil War are probably my two favorite parts of history. I think it's just because where I teach government, that's my favorite thing to see. It's kind of with
that's true.
with the first part with the Revolutionary War. It's kind of the start of the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, those things.
That's true.
Have you read any? Do you like to read history novel, history books?
Actually, I don't read a whole lot, to be honest with you.
When we had first started the podcast, a question that we asked a few of our guests was who their favorite founding father is. So who's yours?
Well, it's probably Thomas Jefferson.
Okay.
And I don't really know the reason why, and that's why my son is named Thomas, and,
really?
and that is why.
Interesting.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
This is a fun fact. Where did Alexis come from?
Alexis, my wife had her name picked out when she was young.
Okay.
And that was what she had picked out for her when she had a girl.
I think who your favorite founding father is could be pretty indicative of your character.
Yeah, that's true.
What's your reason behind Thomas Jefferson?
I think it's because he expanded the country, and I think made the country kind of great because he made it so big.
Right.
I always liked that, enjoyed that about him.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you're in college, you switched to teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Did you branch out socially in college, or were you pretty by the book?
I guess I'd say pretty much by the book. I didn't really, kind of small group of friends kind of hung out. That was.
And you went to Gardner Webb?
Went to Gardner Webb, yeah.
Gardner Webb. That's a pretty small school.
Pretty small school, yeah.
Isn't it?
Was that a deliberate decision, picking a smaller school?
It was, yeah. I got accepted there and to Carson Newman.
Okay.
So then I chose Gardner Webb.
What made you choose a smaller private school over a state school?
Well, it's the idea that the teachers are kind of your small classes. I think the biggest class I had was probably 30 or 35.
Right. Okay.
And so to go into a small college, and so I never really thought about going to a big college. I never probably thought about it. You kind of like when you grow up, and it's more like sports related than academic related. You see schools on TV. It's like, oh, I want to go there.
Yeah.
But when you start looking into it, that's may not be what's best for you.
Right. Yeah. Did you work while you were in college?
I worked at the recreation department in here during the summers.
Okay.
That's where I worked, and I umpired baseball games. And there I had a work study job, and I worked in the athletic department. I set up for sporting events, and that's pretty much what I did. Set up, got paid to watch the game. We set up for the game, you'd watch it, then you take down afterwards, and got paid the whole time you were there.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you take away any moral lessons from working a job? Parents nowadays will encourage their children to work because they say it builds hard work and character. Do you find that to be true?
I think it does, but I don't think you necessarily have to do that because I never worked, except during the summer. I never worked while I was in school. Sure. I never had what I would call a real job until, when I graduated college that summer before I got a teaching job. I worked at Food Line for about 3 months there during the summer, but I never really had I guess you would say a regular job growing up. And I think it can build character and things like that, but I don't think that's the only way to do it. Yeah.
Do you think that sports could be another way?
Sports could be another way, yeah. I think sports build character, being involved with a team. It's almost like the same as working because you have to condition, and then so sports is a job really, even if you enjoy it.
That's true.
You don't get paid for it, but it is a job still.
I know a lot of people are too, and me and Ethan dual enrollment classes now. So having that big heavy course load with sports, it teaches you time management skills, how to get stuff done, and get up early to do stuff. Yeah, I think that's a good lesson, learning how to schedule stuff properly.
I believe at the time you were at the high school, they had an AP government class.
Yeah, they had AP government and then college English, and that might have been about it.
I think so. I think that's what my parents said. Did you take the AP government?
I did take the AP government class.
My dad was particularly fond of him. Did you enjoy his class?
Yeah, I did, Mr. Blevins.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's his name, if I remember correctly, yeah. Johnny was always funny. He made government kind of fun and exciting.
Yeah. Is that kind of what led you to choose government?
I get possibility it is. And one thing is, government really kind of chose me.
Okay.
Because, at Gardner Webb, I got to get North Carolina, you got a social studies degree, so you could teach everything. Yeah. But it was mostly geared towards history. Mm-hmm. So I probably had only like 2 or 3 government classes in college. And so when I got my teaching job here, government was what was open. Right. And so that's what I got, and I've ended up, it's actually my favorite. I would struggle a little bit if I had to go back to history, which is a little bit unfortunate because I forgot a few things where I deal more now with current issues than.
Right. So did you ever weigh going into politics and government?
No, not really. It just seems like almost, I think it would be fun to do, but just looking at the aspects of getting into it and seeing what people have to do to get elected. Right. I think it'd be fun to actually, be in there, but I think the election part, I wouldn't really like that, trying to get elected.
Yeah.
That'd have to be nerve-wracking, especially putting especially if you have a family too.
Family, yeah.
Think about the financial aspects of it.
Yeah.
We know that you stay up to date. During the election cycle, we often ask you questions about the candidates, and you're able to give us answers. Does that duty of staying informed and involved in politics come from being a teacher, or does it come from just personal interest?
I think both. I've always had an interest. Even when I was thinking about being a sports broadcaster, I'd always kept up with politics and who was running and what their concerns were. And I've voted in every election since I could.
Yeah.
And so, and I think being a teacher, with our teacher government, I've made sure I've kept up with it to kind of inform the students. But I think it was informed just part of who I was to start with.
Yeah.
Man, Ethan voted for the first time today.
So you got your stickers, mine somewhere.
It's pretty interesting.
Took it off.
You're an educator.
Mm-hmm.
Can you pick an educator growing up that really affected you?
Thank you. Put me on the spot there. Let me think here a minute. So I had a teacher at St. Paul. His name was Mr. Lineberry. And he was kind of funny, and he'd make jokes. He gave kids nicknames half the time. And like if you had something like, I had a thing I'd say, it was just kind of thing picking at people. I would tell people to suffer if they said something like they were. It was just to be funny if they said something like, "Oh, my leg's hurting," I would say just suffer. And so he would make fun of me for that. It's kind of one of those things you kind of just do for fun.
Yeah. I've never heard that in cross country or track.
Yeah, I've quit saying it, so I don't say that to y'all. So
bring it back.
Yeah. And he taught geometry and geography.
Okay.
So kind of a math and social studies. You don't usually see that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's pretty cool.
We don't take a geography course at the high school.
I don't think so.
I don't think unless you're a transfer student.
Unless you're a transfer unless you're a transfer, you take in the 10th grade because once you do, to meet the Virginia credits, if you take World History 1 in 8th and World History 2 in 9th, you meet the social studies requirements for that.
Okay.
And you don't have to do the world geography unless you just want to.
Yeah, that is slightly disappointing. I think I would benefit from a good, rigorous geography class. I think a lot of people would. I'll ask people where Mexico is, and they'll say on the other side of the country, on the other side of the world.
Especially going to Western Civ.
Western Civ, yeah.
12th grade, knowing kind of where stuff is at, it's important.
Right, yeah.
Especially, it helps if you know where stuff is at now in relation to where it was back.
Right.
2,000
years ago,
years ago. So having that base knowledge is important. I think, especially during COVID, some of that's lost. And we can talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
So you leave college. Mm-hmm. Do you start, teacher's aide or?
Oh, yeah. A lot of teachers nowadays go through a teacher's aide where they do like an official job shadow. Did you have to do that?
No, I student taught my last year in college.
Student taught, okay, yeah.
But I didn't do, after I graduated from college, after that, I taught at Gentry Middle School in Mount Airy my first year.
Okay, so you went to Mount Airy.
Yep.
Was that a conscious decision picking a location that was close to home?
Yeah, and I'd applied to some like close to college. It was about 2.5 hours away, and I'd applied to some in pretty much places in between here and there, and that just happened to be the one I ended up with.
Yeah. And you were there for a year.
There for the year, yeah.
And then you came to Carroll County.
Came to Carroll County, yep.
And that was deliberate, coming back to.
That was deliberate, yeah.
The high school that you grew up in.
Yep.
What was that like coming back?
That was exciting. It was weird, kind of like when you first come in. Most of the teachers that I had were still here.
Right.
Now I'm trying to think if there's any that I had.
Did you have Miss Goad?
I did not have Miss Goad, but she was here when I was here.
Okay.
But I did not have her. I think that's the only one.
Do you have Miss Davidson? Because my mom had Miss Davidson.
I did not have Miss Davidson. So I don't know if she was here when I was here or come after. She's a year younger than me, so I don't know if she come. But I did not have her.
Could have been it.
Was Dr. Schwink still here?
Dr. Schlink was not here. There were several teachers before her.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And Mr. Mitchell was not here. He came while I was in college.
Mm-hmm. I think he was 96. I think he said.
Then I graduated in 95 from here.
See, but you started teaching government here.
Yeah, when I taught my first year in different. I can't remember which blocks, but I taught a U.S. history class. I taught government. I taught world geography, and then kind of over the years, as people left and things changed, it ended up being all government.
That must have been challenging teaching 3 different classes at the same time.
Yeah, it was. I think it was just ended up being 2 at one time because the other one was a different semester, but it was 3 during the whole year. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you balance keeping up to date with everything?
Pretty much, I took a lot of stuff home.
Yeah.
Because it's different. Than I wasn't married, still lived at home with my parents, so I just take my stuff home, and on the weekend I would prepare for the next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it like teaching kids? I'm sure you're teaching seniors at the time, only being, what were you at that time? 22, 23?
Yes, 22, 23, yeah.
Was that a unique?
Yeah.
I don't know. It didn't really faze me any. I know some people it did, but it didn't really, faze me. And I've grown to like it. Seniors are my favorite group. I've come to that. So I'm glad I got into that. And if I'd have been, who knows, if I'd have been a different subject, it might have been something different.
Right, yeah. That's true. We do know that you went back to school a few years ago and you got your master's degree.
Yep.
What was that process like, leaving the academic setting and coming back? Or I guess you never really left,
Yeah, I never left, yeah.
But the college setting.
It was a little bit different, especially because my entire master's degree was online.
Right,
so I did Western Governor University, yeah. And so nothing, no classroom, no anything. So everything was myself, and I did fine because I guess I'm kind of a self-motivated person, so I was able to handle it and do all the readings and things. And I actually got done pretty quick. That was the school year we missed 20-some days of school the year I was working on my master's degree.
Wow.
And we had teachers' work days. We'd have to come in just because we had to get our days in.
Sure. And
so we would come in and there'd be no students here. And so I planned enough. That we're just not going to school. Yeah. So I sat in here and read and did my work and got done probably quicker than I would have if we hadn't got snow that year.
Yeah.
Would you recommend online school?
I think I would. And you have to be self-motivated. Mm-hmm. There's no, you may have due dates, you may not, but there's nobody telling you have to do this, have to do that. So you have to be self-motivated. If you're not really self-motivated and you need more of a guide, I wouldn't recommend it.
What was it like having a family and balancing the work?
While I was doing the work, well, honestly, it didn't really affect me because I did most of the stuff here during those days. Yeah. And so it didn't really come into play.
If given the choice, would you go back in time and do your bachelor's degree like you did your master's? Online, do something like Western Governors? Or would you continue to
I would probably still went to college, I think. I think it's good to have the college experience, kind of living on your own for the first time is, I think that's important. Even though when you go to college, you're living on your own, but you're not living on your own. That makes sense. Yeah. You're by yourself, but you still have mom and dad's support and those type of things. Yeah. Or if you're online, you don't really, nothing's wrong with online.
Sure.
But you don't get that part of it.
Me and Ethan turned 18 this year, and you're adults, but kind of.
Yeah.
You have legally, and the repercussions of that you are, but socially, and I guess socially you are too, but you're still kind of tethered to
especially while you're still in high school.
And your parents. What age do you really think that kind of separates?
Well, I think it kind of depends. If you're 18 and you go to work immediately, or in a factory or military or anything like that, then because you have more responsibilities probably, especially if you decide to move out which some people do. Now, if you don't move out and go to college, it just depends. When you finish graduating, you have 22, 23 probably.
Is that when you felt really?
Yeah, probably right after. Even though I lived at home. Now I still lived at home until I got married until I was 26. Okay. But pretty much, after I got my first job, 22, 23 probably.
How did you meet your wife?
We met, our cousins were dating, and so they introduced us.
Okay.
So.
Was it from right off? Did you kind of know?
Yeah, pretty much. I knew pretty much within a month, maybe sooner, that we were going to get married.
How long did it take you to propose to her?
So we started dating in June. I proposed the night before Thanksgiving.
Wow. Okay.
So that was, and we had actually already started planning the wedding before I proposed.
Really?
And so and
it was a done deal.
It was a done deal, and I always tell the story. Her birthday is December 30th. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't want to give it to her for Christmas. I didn't want to give it to her for her birthday. Mm-hmm. I wanted it to be something different. So my plan was to give it to her New Year's Eve, which is December 31st, which is the day after her birthday. Yeah. And so for whatever reason, I decided to ask her the day before Thanksgiving. And she said, if you'd have waited and I hadn't got it for Christmas and I hadn't got it for my birthday, I would have cried and cried. And so she's like, I'm glad you didn't wait.
Yeah. That's a happy little accident.
Yeah.
I guess it all worked out. And then did you wait a while to have children after that? Or was that?
No, Thomas was born we got married in June. Thomas was born in November.
What was that like, having a family as a young father and a new husband and balancing your job, just other life commitments, taking care of yourself? How did you do it?
I don't know. I just did it. I mean, didn't really think twice about it. And I was coaching basketball at the time.
Okay.
So,
Was that varsity here or?
So I coached. I'm trying to think. I can't remember the years exactly, but I coached JV for. The years I'm not.
Sure.
I can't remember right. But when I first started teaching here, JV. I mean, girls and boys basketball was played at a different time.
Okay.
Girls basketball was played in the fall. Boys was played in the spring.
Interesting.
So I was the JV coach for both.
Okay.
And then over time they switched, and they became the same season. And I became the girls JV coach. And then because someone left in mid-season, I became the temporary varsity coach for 1 year.
Okay.
And then I went back to JV once that kind of cycled around.
And
I was still coaching when we got married. Yeah, I coached for probably basketball maybe 4 or 5 more years after we got married there to start with.
Yeah.
And is that something you came into teaching wanting to do?
Yeah, I came in wanting to coach, and that's one of the reasons I came back to Carroll. The social studies job opened, of course, which you had to have.
Right.
But both the JV basketball positions were open at the same time too.
Okay. So it worked.
It worked out, yeah.
Sure.
I guess this is more of a vice versa question. How did having a child affect your teaching? Did you look at the children with more, or the?
I think it did more like I guess trying to think compassionate maybe instead of being like I'm a rule follower, and y'all kind of know that.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at maybe more situation stuff, why is this person being late to class every day? It's not just because they want to be late a lot of times, even though I think maybe before kids I thought that, well, you're just late. Why are you being late all the time? But kind of have a different aspect once you have kids.
Yeah. Did that perspective change as Thomas got older?
I think so, yeah, and seeing where they did different things and seeing like different circumstances, yeah, I think so.
So that's how it affected you as in a professional manner. How did being a teacher affect you at home with your own children?
Well, I think it's one thing, like when they got to the high school, I know like how things kind of work, and if I would say like, did you do this? Did you know this come in? And where I guess for maybe people that didn't have teachers, their parents didn't know what was going on, and I could easily tell them. And we kind of, since me and my wife are both teachers, we kind of knew how the school system kind of worked, and we could help them in that sense. For maybe people that didn't realize it couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So your kids, one is already gone, and the one that's in our grade is quickly leaving.
Quickly leaving, yeah.
And I guess you probably know that more than anybody. What is that going to look like after they leave?
Well, it'll be, me and my wife will get to date a little more, I guess, hopefully what it looks like. And we've already started that a little bit. And it'll be different. We miss having Thomas around right now because it's, I walk by his room and, he's not there. Yeah. And so next year it'll be 2 people not there.
Yeah.
So it'll be, we've pretty much we've had kids our whole relationship.
Right.
So we've never had a period where we didn't have kids.
Very challenging. Speaking of Thomas, Luke and I both know Thomas very well. We were in cross country with him for many years. He's studying engineering right now at Tennessee Tech.
Well, he's switched his major.
Oh, did he?
He has.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I heard he was doing more of the mathematical.
More of the mathematical part. He's doing the economics part of it.
Oh, okay.
Finance. Economics, I think, is his major, but economics kind of finance. He got into it, and he liked the money numbers part of it and didn't really like the building part of it, so he switched.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Well,
Yep.
Good for him. Did you encourage him to pursue that STEM-related field?
Not really, just something that he liked because it's not something that I was ever interested in or ever was in. So he pretty much picked that up on his own. He liked Mr. Sumner's class.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, he liked Mr. Sumner's class, and that kind of got him into that part. And then he ended up, when he got to college, he liked the math part a little bit better, the numbers part.
I guess that's a good thing about going to college too, kind of exploring what you want to do.
Different things.
And it's good to figure that out now before you got the degree.
This is what, guys, speak freely on something?
No, no.
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is one thing I've noticed from my kids. Y'all have a lot of more dual credit classes than I ever did. And so when I've noticed this is one advantage is you're gonna finish college early. You're gonna pay less money.
Right.
That's an advantage.
Yeah.
Disadvantage I've seen is that when you already go in, you almost have to know what you want to do,
Right.
or you're going to get behind.
Right.
And so that's the disadvantage I've kind of seen from all the dual credit. Not that it's not going to hurt you in the long run, but maybe you're not quite ready for that when you start.
That's
In a academic
In an academic
sense.
Yeah, academic sense, or maybe I don't know if it's maturity level,
Right.
or just something that you're not getting the basic college experience. You got to jump right into what you want to do
that is
immediately.
That is something I've pondered. A lot of schools, particularly private schools, will reject dual enrollment credits.
Yeah.
That is something I've considered. Do you think that trying to skip college while you're still in high school is really that beneficial? Because people will take these dual enrollment classes and they're like, oh, I'll graduate college in 2 years and then I'll enter the workforce. Like,
I think from a physical sense it could. I mean, having that debt with you, I think it could.
Well, sure, from a purely economical standpoint, but do you think that kids could be losing prime years for their maturity or just life experience?
Yeah, I think so. Because, you're 20 years old going into a professional job.
Right.
I mean, it's doable. People do it all the time, but it's
harder.
It's harder.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, I kind of look back a little bit. We asked most of the teachers that we've interviewed. We've interviewed Mr. King, Kurt Sumner. We always ask about COVID. Mm-hmm. You were up at the high school during COVID.
Yeah.
And me and you were still at the middle school. What was that like kind of that week before? Because it was obvious everything was kind of getting ready to change.
Yeah.
And then the NBA shut down. I think that's when most people started realizing it was something else. And I think the next day is when, I think March was Friday the 13th.
March 13th, yep.
What was that like up here?
Like kind of leading up to it, I do current events in class every Friday. So people were doing current events on because it started in I guess Seattle in November, December really, and real people didn't really know what it was. When it comes about and people are asking me, well, these places out are closed. I was like, they were asking, well, are we going to close schools? I was like, no, we would never close schools. We would never do that. And then all of a sudden it just happened.
Right. Yeah. Was that a hard adjustment?
Yeah, it was a hard adjustment. Just getting, going to online school and then students not really doing it or you didn't have to do it really because they kind of just pass people along, which in a way you had to do that. But in a way, you could tell, especially at the elementary level, kids got behind and still are.
Yeah. Are you seeing the consequences of that? Or do you think it'll be a few more years before you truly see it?
I don't know. The consequences I'm kind of seeing, and I don't know.
Some teachers we've asked have said they don't see any difference, and I thought that was kind of strange.
The biggest thing I see is, I'm not saying it's about everybody,
sure,
but I have, there's more kids that are less interested in whatever I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And where before, that was rare that I would have people that weren't interested in what I was doing. But since COVID, it's been more, and it hasn't started going back down yet.
So more so interested in their phone or
maybe their phone or whatever else is going on in the world. Some of it, and some of it, I know some people come back and say this is really this has went down. Well, somebody said, well, I made a lot of money while I was in COVID, and I went to work, and that's what I want to do. So, why should I come to school?
Sure.
And so and I do see their point.
Yeah.
I guess coming back your senior year too, things start to change. I guess your spring semester, senior year.
Yeah.
It starts to become more. This is kind of what was important with high schools quickly leaving, and starts to think about your life. I mean, because that 18 to 22, 24 range is probably one of the most major adjustments you'll ever experience. So, I guess coming back as a senior too from COVID is a little bit challenging.
When we spoke with Mr. King, he said that he had utilized a lot of online learning techniques with his classes before COVID had happened. Did you use many online techniques?
I did not use hardly any online stuff before COVID.
So that was a change.
That was a change too. Yeah, that was a big change. Yeah, I very rarely used anything online.
Was that hard to learn? Because some teachers...
It was, because I guess I kind of get set in my ways sometimes. It was harder. I'd never really used YouTube to find stuff. Okay. I'd always been like, that's just people just put stuff on there just for fun. It's not educational. But then you start looking at it, and there are some educational things, and you could find like I show like old clips of like the conventions to show how it's going to work this year, and so, and I probably, even though it was probably available before COVID, I wouldn't have really thought about using it.
When we spoke to Mr. King, not to refer to Mr. King the whole time, he said that election years, his kids are more interested in civics. Do you find that to be true?
Oh, that's very true. And it's election years, and I have a lot of times, I have fall semester classes. The fall classes are kind of more interested because there's usually an election going on.
Right.
Where, this time, and my kids are pretty interested because of the primary today. Yeah. And so they've been more interested this time. When usually in the spring, there's no election. Mm-hmm. Or if there is, it's not until the summertime when they have a local primary. Sure. And so they have been more interested this year. And they registered a voting class. And I had some that voted for the first time today or we're going to vote after school for the first time.
Mm-hmm. You actually helped me register to vote a few weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah, you did me too, so it's pretty interesting. When you went over the local election results, me and Ethan both worked for the campaigns. So I already had the stuff memorized. The first thing I was like, yeah, so that was pretty unique, and I guess you'll do the same thing.
So that thing, do it tomorrow, yeah.
How did your service hours work for 10-hour requirement during COVID? Did you still have that?
It was waived if they didn't want to do that.
Oh, if they didn't want to.
It was their choice. If they wanted to do it, they could do it.
Okay.
If they didn't, they didn't. And if they didn't want to do it, we made an exam for a government classroom to take.
Okay, I see.
So
Is that 10-hour requirement set by the institution, the high school, or is it set by you?
It's
set by the state.
It's set by the state now. Okay. But me and the one that we do kind of, and schools can do it any way they want to, kind of different. Mm-hmm. It kind of came out the school board wanted to do it through the government class, and me and Miss Mitchell were teaching government at the time.
Okay.
So what you see vamped a little bit is what me and Miss Mitchell created to do that, and we've changed a little bit as we've seen. Well, this doesn't work, or this is not a good idea, or we've changed like what you can do and what counts as community service, what doesn't. But that's how it kind of started.
Is the motivation just to get people more involved in the community, or to maybe learn a certain lesson from the community service?
I think it's both, and then it becomes from part of one of the standards from the Virginia Department of Education, becoming a good citizen, and that's part of it, and that's where that kind of counts in there.
Okay, sure, that makes sense. Thank you.
To kind of switch loops a little bit, when did you start teaching cross country and track?
Teaching.
Or not teaching, coaching, I guess.
Okay.
It's coaching.
Well, see, you're in 12th grade.
I know
you're in 11th, so it'd have been your 6th and 7th grade year. So 5 years ago, I started becoming the head coach. Yeah.
Track.
Yeah, is that right?
For
Yeah. Track.
No, for my
Cross-country
sixth grade year, I had
You had Coach
Haga.
Oh,
Because he was for track.
for track. Oh,
Yes.
I thought y'all said
And
cross country.
well, I think he said cross country. So
Okay.
for my 7th grade year, I had Coach Sharp, and then my 8th grade year, I had you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you came for cross country my 9th grade year.
Okay.
Because that was the COVID year, so you
Yeah.
did spring. I think we started in February.
Yeah, we did
Yeah.
in February. Yes, we did. Cross country was in February that year.
My clearest memory from that season is an image of Luke throwing up on the side of the road in the freezing cold.
I remember that because during Coach Sharp, we trained hard, and then COVID happened. And I had ran a little bit. I tried to run a marathon in my backyard in COVID. And I put two stakes, and I got 12 miles, and my feet started bleeding. Mom said, stop. So that was really the only time I really ran. And then 6 months later, it comes around, and it's spring, and it was cold.
Yeah.
And it was the wintertime, and just kind of out
Everything was
of season.
weird.
And I remember running and getting sick out over there, and I was on my hands and knees in these leaves. And we came inside, and they were cleaning, and they were the heavy chemicals.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to die. And then I got home that night, and I figured out the leaves I was in was actually poison ivy.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And I got all up and down my legs, so that was an interesting first week. And that was the only time my whole high school career during cross country I think, maybe this is going to be different. But after that, it was fine. And that spring season ended up, I thought, was
Considering what was
all
happening
everything
around us,
was going
Yeah.
it went well.
Yeah.
It was a shortened season. I think I got sick the last week.
Yeah, and then you and I think it was Ethan Dalton went alone.
Me and Nathan Dalton went alone to regions. Yeah. I think because that was different because we actually had started track practice
Right.
and we were still running cross country.
Right.
So
Which is,
That was just crazy.
Yeah.
did he run with track at the time?
he did run track. Yeah, he ran track at the time, and we kind of since he was we knew he was the only one going that week because of what had happened because of COVID, and so pretty much we just started track practice, and he done his cross country workout, and then we went to regionals the day of regions.
He might be the only Carroll County cross country runner that's ever done track and cross country at the same time.
I would say he has. I'd say he probably is.
That is true.
I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah.
What was your mindset coming into cross country? Were you excited for it?
Yeah, we're talking about this year or just in general?
No, I mean starting
in
to
general.
coach.
Oh, start. Yeah, I was excited about it because I'd always coached. I'd always coached basketball before.
Right.
And so now, I think cross country and track are a little bit more relaxed. So it's not as like basketball. You go home and you study the other team's plays, and so there was more of that outside of it where you do that. Where track and cross country, you don't really study the other team's plays. You run your speed. You don't really study what they're doing. You worry about yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's more laid back, more individual. Even though we keep team score and things, but it is more
It's different.
individual. It's different, yeah.
Especially in long distance running, it's more of a mental aspect
Yeah.
to it too. Endurance running.
Different, yeah.
I think that has been probably the biggest help to me over anything. I don't know where I would really be without running. Just long distance has helped me outside of school too, especially with the dual enrollment stuff. Just learning how to
do something hard for
do something hard and do it for an extended period of time. Because that's what long distance running is all about. Coaching track, where you do more short distance stuff and field
events.
Field events. Did you feel prepared coming in to do all long distance for cross country?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I ran cross country. And I didn't run in college, but I ran in high school, so I was prepared somewhat to do some of the things we do. I think when we have Coach Marshall on the varsity squad, where she ran cross country in college. I think that's just a great asset. Yeah. When she was able to get the job.
Did you come into being the head coach for track with the intention of looking for other coaches to help?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Because no way, when y'all see it out there, we got 3 coaches out there trying to coach 80 kids.
Right.
So that's hard. Is that?
Well, I mean, that first year specifically, it was COVID. It was smaller.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Did you mean to then?
Yeah, mean to then. Yeah, we got the way it works. I mean, we have the school sets aside so many coaches. Okay. So they set aside. There's a head coach and there's 2 assistant coaches, and so that's what you kind of look at that, and then lucky this year we got a volunteer this year. Sometimes that happens, but we kind of hire by what the school system allows us to hire with looking for the assistant coaches.
Track always it seems to be less intimate than cross country.
Yeah.
Track, everybody, it's a big team. You're kind of doing your own thing. Cross country, it's more of a tight knit group.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's my favorite because you really get to know everybody, and I just like that a little bit better.
Yeah, in cross country, I mean, in track, you kind of go, you go do long distance, you're short distance, you're going to do your field events, and you're kind of.
Sometimes the kids have to bounce between them.
You have to bounce. Yeah, we have to bounce it everywhere.
That's challenging.
Cross country is also much more of a team sport.
Yeah, because there's more of a team sport. There is a team score in track too, but it's more, it's based on different things. And
it's all up in the air.
Yeah, all up in the air. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you're not really. You can't help by passing another person. You're not helping your other teammates score more points. Right.
And it's not enough to be fast in one of it. You got to be fast in all of them.
You got to be fast in all of them,
yeah, that's true. If you had to pick a favorite, which one would you pick and why?
I think track's probably my favorite just because I was better at it in high school than I was in cross country, where I did high jump in high school and I did the 400, 800, and I succeeded more than I did in cross country, so that's probably why it's my favorite.
Would you ever consider going back and running track again? As a coach, you're in the coach relays, because I know sometimes. They have a few coming up this year. I don't want to put you on the spot publicly.
Yeah, we have 4 coaches. We can do it.
We do. Yeah, we do. We have 4 coaches. Yeah, I would consider doing it.
That'd be awesome.
Well, everybody heard it here first.
Everybody heard it here first. Yeah.
I'll clip this.
You got this, and you'll play it for everybody. I can't go back on my word now.
Share it with the team, yes, sir.
Well, Ethan he's got 1 more year. Yep. I'm done with cross country. I did it, and it was a great experience for me. Probably is the highlight of my time at Carroll County. I have lots of favorite memories. What's your favorite memory from the Carroll County cross country team coaching from a different point of view?
Probably just, when we started out, we didn't have that many people, and part of that was COVID. So I think getting seeing more people interested in it and getting a bigger team, and I think y'all 2 were a large part of that, trying to encourage other people to run. I think that's the big thing.
Makes sense. Yeah, we try to encourage kids because it's a good time. And obviously,
you
want to win.
Samuel to do it, and he ended up being Samuel Collins.
He's Sam.
That. Yeah,
he's Sam.
I know a few times things got out of hand a little bit. I think you're going to have that with
any team.
That dynamic, especially. What's unique about cross country is with the other sports, soccer, basketball, football. Everybody's down on the field. Or in the weight room. Cross country, it's like sometimes we're off. We're out in the real world with different people and getting different stuff. So I think the opportunity for shenanigans increases
exponentially.
I think just being more cognizant of where you're at too with traffic and with different stuff. I think cross country is very unique in that standpoint.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it has something to do with maturity too. I think cross country forces you and track forces you to be mature. Yeah. Because when you're out there running and a truck rolls coal on you, you have a decision to make. You can either throw a rock at them or you can do nothing and hold your breath.
And that happened 3 or 4 times this past season.
That's happened.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I did not know that.
No rocks thrown.
No rocks thrown. Oh.
But there are hostile drivers out there.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they do target us. Oh. And you do have to be aware of that. And I think that...
Because that one time we were just... And they were calling from the side of the road. It was pretty bad. But I mean, just I enjoy that. It's always nice, especially being in school all day, being able to go out and kind of
But
run.
Yeah, back to what I was saying. I do think it forces you to be more mature, and I think you can see that, especially with kids who were new to the team this year.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the season, they were kind of meek and
and then
they weren't really comfortable with us. But through talking with us and exploring and proving to themselves that they can go run down the road and be okay, they become more confident and they're a stronger person.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think part of what y'all were talking about, we talked about the rule changes a couple years ago from cross country,
right? Yeah.
Where you have to go, you only be in certain
sidewalks.
places, sidewalks. I think that changed from that.
That's true.
Around different things happening around the country, really.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because I remember, especially a few years ago, it was wide open.
Wide open, yeah. You could pretty much run wherever you wanted to.
We were running out towards pretty far out.
Yeah.
Places that sometimes might not be the best places to run. I remember, I think the rules changed. I forget which year it was.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago, I think.
I think it was my second year of you being coach.
Yeah.
So
I think there have actually been some accidents out west.
Yeah, there have been. So
some cross-country teams.
And getting hurt and people getting hit by cars and things like that. Yeah.
I think the liability for cross-country especially is
it is because you pretty much, I'm responsible for you.
Yeah.
I'm trusting you. You're going out and you're running off of campus or wherever. And I can't, because everybody runs at a different pace, I can't chase everybody around, but I can come and make sure you're there. But I can't,
Right. It is a school activity. I mean, during gym, they would never let people just run.
Gym, you would never say, gym class, let's go run up to the courthouse and back or whatever.
No.
We practice at Hillsville sometimes. For our listeners who don't know, Hillsville Elementary School, and we have a mostly combined loop there. Do you prefer practicing at Hillsville just because of the reduced liability?
I think I prefer just because it was all grass and more hilly and we kind of more condensed and we kind of coordinated a little better, and I could definitely know where you were and
manages better.
Sure.
Yeah, I know some coaches track with Strava. Have you thought about doing that?
What's that?
Strava. It's like a running app.
Yeah.
And you can track where runners are going.
Oh, okay. See where they're at.
It's not real time though. It's only after the fact.
Yeah,
only after the fact.
Yeah, but a lot of runners haven't.
You have to pay like $30 a month or something for real time, so it's not realistic for most people. But.
No, but I guess it's something to
look
into. Kind of switch up loops, switch up topics. We always loops. We always have a few questions we ask towards the end of the interview. Who's your best friend?
My wife's my best friend. Most definitely. She's my rock.
How do you go about building that connection with someone? And does it necessarily have to be your significant other?
It doesn't necessarily have to be. I think, when we started dating, it was just natural.
You get each other.
Yeah.
You don't think you can force that?
I don't think you can force it, no. For whatever reason, just faith or love or whatever it is.
I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that saves a lot of people from a lot of.
Yeah.
I guess sometimes people don't listen to that.
If it's not there, you can't just make it there.
Do you believe that it's productive to look for love, or do you think that you just find it per chance?
I guess with us, it just happened to find it, but I think it's all right to look for it too, because when you start, you're going to start dating people. And I've always been, some people disagree with me on this, but I've always thought the purpose of dating is to find the person you're going to marry. Yeah. And I've always believed that.
Yeah. We've asked this question the past few times. It's 3 o'clock, 1992. What are you doing?
3 o'clock, 1992.
On a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday.
Sure.
Do my math here. So I'd have been in 9th grade. If it's during the school year, I'm at St. Paul. It's 3 o'clock. School's getting ready to get out. It could be if it's basketball season or baseball season. I'm getting ready to go to practice or go to a game.
That's true. That's a good point. We've asked that question a couple of different times, and we always get interesting answers. Yeah. We ask it because we had a guest who said that the guest response will dictate what kind of childhood they had. If they were doing something like a sport at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock on a Tuesday, then chances are they probably had a decent childhood. If they were walking home, then maybe not. So it's just a interesting way to figure out who you're talking to.
Yeah, huh? Cool, you lived in a city or country too.
Yeah.
If I got out of school at 2:45 and I live in the city, I might be walking home from school and it might be.
You have to use your context clues, right?
Yeah,
it depends.
Depends on where you're. Around here, it wouldn't. Most people don't walk home unless you live in town.
Yeah, that's true.
Might be hard on 58.
Yeah.
What advice would you have to younger students who are considering a career in teaching or in coaching?
Okay. I'd say it's an enjoyable field. I would recommend it. I wouldn't, if I had to do it over again, I wouldn't change. But it's challenging, and it's becoming more challenging every day for different reasons. I think, go back to COVID, I think it had a lot to do with it and hadn't incorporated. Kids are more defiant now for whatever reason, even starting in lower levels. So just, you're going to have to be ready for that. It's challenging, it's rewarding, but there's more things put on you. And there's a lot of situations, teachers, especially elementary level, maybe not so much the high school level because kids are different. And, but you're a second parent, or third parent, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that's true. Do you consider yourself to be a student's protector while you're at school?
I think so. I'm always making sure things are safe and my door's shut. I guess those type things. You can't ever be too careful these days.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I have 2 questions before we wrap it up. The first one is, where do you see yourself in 10 years? 10
years in Florida, retired, or somewhere warmer. I think. Somewhere definitely warmer. I'm not sure when I enjoy teaching. Not sure when I'll retire, but I know it's. Maybe I want to do something else. I don't know what that may be. I might like to work I wouldn't mind like going to a city and working in like a museum, or even like I wouldn't mind working like like the voter register that does the voting and go to the schools and register people to vote and.
Or maybe public office.
Yeah. Maybe.
Considering a career in the clerk's office.
Yeah.
Be a good candidate.
What advice do you have for young people just making their way in the world? Not
specifically teaching.
Not specifically
just
teaching.
young people just
in
starting
general.
out.
Well, just kind of you gotta find something you enjoy, no matter what that is. It doesn't matter if you make $1 million or you make minimum wage. You have to enjoy what you're doing, and if you don't enjoy it, no amount of money is going to make it better.
Yeah. And our last question, it's a bit of a cliche, but we like to ask everyone it because we believe it's indicative of a person's true character. And that is, what is the meaning of life to you?
Meaning of life is just family and God, really. I think that's taking care of your family.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, Coach Montgomery, for coming on the podcast today. We've both really enjoyed it.
Absolutely, it's been an
Well,
honor.
thank y'all.
Thank you,
Appreciate
sir.
y'all having me. I've known y'all for a while. Appreciate y'all having me on the show.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
sir.
Thank y'all.